Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another edition of On the Mic with Mike. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me today is comedian and a good friend of mine, Mr. Brian Mauro. How are you, Brian? It has been a while.
It has been a while. And when we say while, we mean a while.
Oh,
Uh,
folks, Brian and I actually know each other. First of all, besides the fact that we were both Long Islanders and we're from the great state of New York, but Marketing Incorporated, our first job together doing market research over there in East Islip. Brian was there before I was, then I came right after high school. So times of just doing surveys, getting yelled at, having more patience than we should have. Oh my goodness, what a time, right?
what a time. And I still remember the managers, Diane.
Yep.
That's the one I remember most, like specifically. Sh- It, it was a different environment. It felt like a different time period than today. It really does.
It does. No, you're correct on that because a lot of stuff that we did in 2010, 2011 time period, what we do now, you can't because everything is just,
Yeah.
God. Yes and no, but I look at it from a stance too, and I agree with you. I mean, it's great how we evolve as people, and evolution and adaptation is very key in everything. But in today's society, and I'll say this as we'll talk about your comedy stuff because this also applies to it. But today, in today's day and age, people are either easily offended, they constantly complain, or everybody's going to whine. And it's like, why? Like you're alive, you're healthy, you're waking up, and there's more stuff to bitch about. Like there's war, there's hunger, there's so many crises going on in this country, and they pick the littlest minuscule thing, right?
They always do, and it's so funny. Just recently I saw the whole movie theater incident. It's amazing in like today's climate that the things they pick on when there are so many climate change, the possible war in Ukraine escalating, um, Taiwan and China and all these things that could go off at a moment's notice, and people are easily offended at transgender bathroom jokes and the fact that LGBTQIA happens to add another letter one year and they make fun of it, and it's like, yeah, but you guys added another letter to Q and anon. It's like I don't know, we're all adding letters. So I just kind of hate how they're so split. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things that Democrats have done wrong too. Like it's bad on both aisles of like both partisans. They are both just screwing shit up, and it's because you said everyone is easily offended, and they're not focusing on the real problems anymore. That really does screw it up with comedy.
Oh, it does. And what I love about it too is as well as we come from a day and age where Chris Rock was king, where we got to see Dave Chappelle, the original kings of comedy. And if they perform what they performed in 2000 to now, like look at Chris Rock when he did his latest special talking about Will Smith, you could tell he was kind of holding a little bit back too.
Yeah.
Oh shit, what can I say? It was a good performance, but I'm like, oh man, Chris, you could tell, man, like Chris is trying to hold back, so we don't
He had more to
say.
get out.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like, imagine you wanted to go more about it. And mind you, what Will Smith did at that particular time period, not the smartest thing. And I mean, he was going through it too. But it's like if you can have fun about that, you can. I mean, Tracy Morgan's notorious for making jokes about gays, what have you. I mean, it's a topical topic. If you can have topics that are topical and have fun with it and make a joke, at least
Yeah.
evoke emotions, that's what we need, especially in this country. You need to laugh, Brian.
We all need to laugh. That's people, they need more than anything is to laugh and have hope and remember that, a lot of life is kind of shitty. Most of life is kind of shitty, but it's those good moments and those happy moments where you're smiling and laughing, whether it be with strangers or whether it be with your family or good friends, whether it be at a comedy show or whether it just be getting drunk in your basement, whatever it is, those are the moments that make all those bad moments worth it. And that's one thing that as a comedian, I kind of feel like I can hopefully give back. Because there's too much depression and sadness in the world, and it's happening younger and younger, and it's spiraling out of control, not just in this country, in any country. I watch mental health skits on YouTube and everything. And of course, they're to a degree parodying the situation, but they're also being serious and calling attention to the fact that this is a serious issue, both just internationally. And I'm just, like you said, I'm a comedian. I don't know what more I can do, but I know that when I make my wife or my kids laugh, they feel a little better. So that's about the best I can do. I just know that the people in charge need to start focusing on the right fucking things and get off like the people who don't matter, who in the long scheme of things will never help anything. They they their focus is so fucked.
I think you said it best and bluntly, but no. And going back to your point of just have making people laugh and stuff, I mean, everything that we have in life is a life lesson. Things teach us stuff. When people would get on rappers like Biggie and Tupac for their lyricism and lyricists, like when Notorious B.I.G. is talking about your brain, what's a terrible thing to waste and sky's the limit, and drugs, he's talking about his experience, but also, hey, kids, get away from the drugs. You don't want to end up down that path. And people don't seem to listen or learn from that. They just see it, oh, he's just promoting this, or he said gun. There's many different ways of interpretation of how they see the levels and layers and everything.
I could not agree more with the way you said that. And especially, lyrics are such an important part of music to me. Um, I myself struggled with addiction for about 5 years, about 5 years. I was an IV user. I was down to 140 pounds. I was very unhealthy. And it was my wife and kids that when my kids were born and my wife pulled me out of it, that I kind of realized I was ready. And unfortunately, it it really, those songs that you spoke of, you have to either have a very vast understanding of lyricism and be able to interpret it in a way that's not just, oh, he thinks he's cool because he's talking about drugs and guns. If you go beneath the surface, there's like you said, so many layers to his songs, and so many, like he's pouring out his heart and regret and guilt, and the way he tortured his family and all the pain he put people through, and like all the riches and money don't make up for the hurt that you put people through. It's never worth it. And you're right. He was trying to tell people, stay the hell away. You don't want to live this lifestyle. And people ran with it as this big excuse to glamorize this as the gangsta life and go, this with all this shooting, this is what's cool and what's hip and it's like, no, everybody took the wrong message on both sides again. I truly don't think that anyone understood it in the same way that you perceived it, and in honesty, the way I perceive it as well. I don't think he ever wanted to pick up a gun, like ever, if he had the choice.
I mean, we look at Biggie Smalls and his father not being around, but you can equate it to Tupac. Like, oh,
Yeah.
they see thug life on his stomach, and I'm like, no, like Tupac was a very poetic soul. He liked poetry. He liked Maya Angelou. He was very much a rights activist. Like, there's more beneath the surface that was Tupac Shakur, especially his mother Afeni. And I look at it from a stance too, as well as we have today's day and age. And first of all, I'm glad with everything that you went through, addiction, and your wife and kids helped you, because I'll be the same right now. I was going a dark path a couple of years ago, but what really got me out of it was my mother was diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer. So I had to make a decision. I'm like, wait a minute, do I want to keep acting the way that I am, or do I want to be here while my mother's going through this and watch her as she has beat cancer? Do I want to be here for my family? And that's a decision you have to make, because if you stay here and go this way, it's going to lead to a dead end. But if you stay here and you go that way, it leads to more opportunities being created. It leads to hope, and it leads to more things that make you successful, not just in any endeavor, but in life and as a person. So it's a constant learning experience, and it's a wake up call that really a lot of people need to see and really realize for truly what it is.
That is so like perfectly put. It is a wake up call that so many people need, and un- unfortunately, with the way that I see things going, and the fact that people are dying at higher rates, and it's it's like it's something that for me, who's always been a very proficient lyricist to speak, and I've always been well with speaking words and fluent and always giving eulogies, it still leaves me speechless as to why people are putting things like fentanyl in marijuana. And it, it it's insane to me, because why are we just recklessly killing people now? Like at this point, this has just become like a lawless area. And I've never been one to support like a police state. Don't get me wrong. I do not endeavor for or like I don't want any kind of state control or military martial law. What I do want is the the focus, the priorities that the police seem to have. The people they're bringing in on minor bench warrants and putting bail at $10,000 for misdemeanors that I know personally, and yet letting people with felonies go out on ROR. And when they leave, they leave. They they were caught with an AK-47. Why would they stay? I mean, you just got to get out of jail free card. They just said just come back 2 months, and then they're holding people who had a little bit of pot, before all the laws went up to decriminalize it. That it was the same thing, and you still got people in jail serving those long, long prison terms that are just not getting rectified fast enough. And just that's the focus of the police, especially on Long Island, where me and you were,
Mhm.
whether it's wealthy, affluent, and they just don't know what they're doing here.
My thing has always been with cops. Like, first of all, I support the cops and thank them for what they do. Protect.
Absolutely.
That's what we're saying, but I don't understand with pot. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a pot smoker, but what I do say is it does help a lot of people. It helps my best friend personally is into it. It helps him get through what he gets through. It's
Yeah.
helpful drug to people, but we're focusing more on stuff like that and then longer sentences when then people are out here doing God knows what, and we focus on that minuscule thing. Personally, take those people off the streets who are doing God knows what. And I mean, I look at it from a wrestling standpoint. We have so many wrestlers that died around our age from doing pills and drinking and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And Kevin Nash said it best. He's like, I never heard anybody over ODing on weed. So it's like, what's really the bad problem here, you know?
Exactly. And look, I get it. If there shouldn't be, we've got to obviously perfect it, and it's got to go through rigorous testing and everything. But I fully support a way to, once it's done, test for if a driver is intoxicated at that moment. Because look, if you can't drive high, you shouldn't be driving high.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't care whether I smoke or not. It's not your right to put other people in danger. It's and yet cops will pull over somebody and they will treat them like they found everything. I remember seeing pictures, and this wasn't in Suffolk County. This was in, I don't know, Pennsylvania or something. Pictures of like a little like pop bust. It was like three little baggies, like this big each, and a bag of like 6 pills. And they were all like, there were 6 cops around, and they were like, "Look at what we got off these people." It's like you guys are wasting time uploading this to Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Go get the heroin dealers, please, because they're standing on the corner sometimes.
That's another thing that gets me. I have to add on people in today's day and age when there's something that's going on. I mean, I've seen it in Myrtle Beach here too, where they caught the guy, but it's like people are like filming from their rooms, like, oh my God, they're coming down here, like the person's got a gun. Well, how about you call the police? Don't put out your phone and
Yeah,
filming this shit. How about you call the police? That's the
yeah,
problem.
no, they're like World Star first.
Police second.
Oh.
Start first. Yes, that's true. It's what it is.
It really, really is.
But that's the thing.
Like,
It amazes me how, from a technological standpoint, there's a lot of pluses for marketing, and especially what you and I are doing here in tonight's forum. But then there's the negative side. It's like, God damn it, put your phone down, fucking spend time with your family, fucking happily, realize what truly matters and really what you prioritize in life, than fucking doing this. You know what I'm saying? But that's the society that we live on, and that's what these kids, a lot of them are really going towards and have gravitated towards, because that's become the norm in society today.
You, you could not be more right. It really has amazed me how far we've come technologically in just such a short period of time. Because I still remember the days of the little brick phone,
Yep.
and so to see like iPhone 15s out nowadays and what they can do, it's incredible. And yet, kids are. I've got nephews and nieces that are like 1 and 2 years old, and they're learning how to use a tablet before they're learning how to walk. And it's like, oh my God, like, and yeah, it might look impressive, but we don't know how that's going to turn out in 30, 40 years. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think they're going to be much better at computers than like I am, because I technologically, my oldest daughter, she's she's just about getting there and passing me in technologically. And I think around my time, I was like 8, 9 when I passed my parents. But back then, we had like those Dell computers and the Internet Explorer, and things were just so much different. And I have a feeling that, and this is just from personal experience, this isn't like, the show's opinion or anything, but one of the worst offenders to me is short form, uh, those the short, really short form videos
Yeah.
on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that, to me, not only are they, I must sound like I'm 50 or 60 saying this, but most of them are just not intelligent humor. But it's also just, my kids have no attention span. Like, they need something to be changing every 5 seconds. If it's not bright lights in their eyes every 5 seconds, their mental patterns have changed to be hyper focused on the next shot of whatever's coming. And you can tell, like, when they have to do anything like clean, make their bed, any simple task, it's not fun enough. It's not entertaining enough.
I love how you said that, because when it comes to TikTok, it's another form of social media, but all it is dancing and stuff. And we talk about how social media brings kids' attention nowadays. Like, here's the thing, look at music. Like, music has become so disposable that, like, back in the day, you were excited to buy a CD, or you had your iPad and you were waiting, you would watch TRL or what have you. Nowadays, it's just like song comes out on YouTube on like Vivo or something, then on to the next. Like, we're so much less on being attentionally deficit, because we don't have the attention span, because we constantly want something new like this. They want to speed up the process. But with sites like TikTok, it's just another one that really just engages with people for dance stuff and new trends and stuff, when in actuality, we should just, like, again, focus on normal stuff. Like back in the day, just going out and shooting hoops was the norm. But again, the introduction of social media like Facebook, like we have young kids getting on there that are probably under 13. We're introducing them too young to social media, because not only is that norm, but this is what we all gravitate to now, because that's what we're so inclined to believe, that social media is the answer for everything, when it's not, because it leads more to this instead of this.
That's exactly what it is. It tends to group people. It tends to really group people into specific categories, and makes sure, like you said, that those specific categories always come into contact with each other. It's, and I remember, even because we had stupidity back on in our days on the internet.
Oh yeah,
I remember I remember things like Jib Jab and oh God, E-Bombs World.
yep.
Like, shout outs to those two. I don't know if they're still around, but hey, good for them if they are. God bless them.
Mm-hmm.
But even their content, I still remember their 2004 election video. Like when they did a whole special like on John Kerry versus George Bush. it was like, wow, like I actually learned something from this, even though it was silly, even though it was animated ridiculously, and it was only like 2 minutes. It was short form content that you still got something out of. I see these reaction videos to reaction videos of reaction videos to something that was stupid to react to in the first place. And I'm just like, man, I wasted my whole damn life. Like,
I mean, if it's like you're reacting to like a song or something, like I'm okay with that because they're similar.
yeah,
But if you're reacting to somebody else to react to something else, it's just like, what the fuck is the point? Like, and again, and I don't mean to harbor on these YouTubers either, but here's the thing, man. When it comes to like playing video games, like your PS2s, your Xbox, your Game Boys, this is what we all grew up on. Even in the video game world, we are on YouTube watching other content creators play the video game instead of us forming our own opinions either from playing the game or having our own experience with it. Instead of just fucking, oh, so and so is playing this like on Twitch for 6 to 8 hours. Oh, so and so uploaded this on YouTube to fucking stream and play, see the gameplay. That's how we know things instead of actually experiencing it for ourselves.
you were, it's funny. I'm guilty of that myself.
Yep.
I'm very guilty of that myself. Just recently, I had a very harsh view of Minecraft. For whatever reason, I never played it. I just didn't think it was something I would be interested in. And then my kids started playing it, and then I started watching this guy on YouTube. And I, even though I still have yet to play it, now I love Minecraft. So it really is amazing how social media and whether it be short form or long term, it can change people's opinions. And that's important because if that's how people are getting all their information, oh, this world is.
And I think what also kind of ruins it for a lot of us too, and we talked about it, and I'll say this, and I've said it bluntly on my show, Brian, and I'll say this with you, cancel culture, just fuck right off with that. And why I say to that is there's stuff that is offensive to be offended by. And we talk about people getting easily offended, but it's just like, okay, someone said this X amount of years ago, like that was in 2015 or 2016, but now it's 2023.
Oh,
How do you not know that that person has evolved as a person, or they don't feel the same way as they did then than now? People don't know that, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like we said something here, but we have to cancel everything. I always make this joke. When we were younger, Cisco, the top song was that thong, the thong, 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 the thong song. One of the if he released song now, oh my god, like everybody would
oh,
be up in arms.
forget it.
You're sexualizing women.
Oh,
What are
he
you
would have been
doing?
he would have been arrested for releasing Song today.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
Like, oh my god! And yet, it's it's kind of to me, it really. I don't know when we stopped. Like as a liberal myself, or as something I used to consider a liberal, because now
I don't know what
the
it is.
term liberal does not. I don't know what it is either because it doesn't describe what I am anymore. I just want people to be taken care of if they need it. Like if they're sick, elderly, or disabled, or homeless, we need to help them. Like that's it. Like it's not hard. We don't need to build a fucking wall. We like don't need to do unnecessary shit. Yes, we do need to keep our defense budget up. Yes, we do need taxes. So Democrats and Republicans both have to shut the fuck up. Like there's compromises to be made on both sides. And yet it's like people like me and you can lay it out so simply. And of course there's obviously little parts that would go back and forth, but for the most part, it doesn't seem like rocket science. And it's not just me and you, it's every other like person who does an interview like this will say the same thing. Why? Why do we do this as a country? We gerrymander, we push each other into different conflicts, we group each other, we elect people who are just so unfit for office. Like the Mitch McConnell freezes.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness. And they're still ragging on Biden. It's like, guys, calm down.
Can we focus on what's really important here and not the subtleties of a man freezing or Joe Biden went out to have some ice cream? I'm like, the man's a fucking human being too. Like, Jesus Christ, who cares?
So stupid. It reminds me of when we had Obama as president, how every day there was a new Obama scandal. I used to love it. I remember it was like Obama was seen smoking a cigarette. It's like,
Who
oh
cares?
my God. Like, oh my God.
It's like when we were kids. So I remember going to the Bayway Arts Center. We saw Christmas Carol there for like a school field trip. And it's like when you're a kid and you walk out on intermission, right? They have taken intermission. We all go out, and then you see one of the actors smoking outside in the friggin' back. Like, oh my god, that guy's smoking. It's like that. It's like a little kid reaction. It's like we're having a little kid reaction as an adult now, and it's like, what the fuck does that matter? Everybody worries about the little subtleties and intricacies and nuances. Mind you, some of that can be important when you're telling a story, but in this particular case, we're all human beings at the end of the day, and we want what's best for each other and the country. And let's focus on that instead of fuck you and fuck you too.
I could not have put that more beautifully myself. Like that's it. That's the idea, man.
That's it.
Just look out for each other. If I tell my friends all the time, like if you were just you just had a good support group of like 10, 20 people who everyone believed in each other and carried each other when one person couldn't and walked when one person couldn't, they would never fail because you can't fail if it's a true village. Unfortunately, and this isn't for me to debate, but human nature, I don't know. I guess it just sometimes just tends to turn towards that bleak path, and people tend to go towards greed and lust and whatever else. I mean, it has shit happens in that
And I mean,
we can't, yeah, we can't trust anybody in society all of a sudden.
and I'm,
And it's like,
yeah, I know,
yeah,
man. Yeah. No, go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
oh no, oh you were good. But yeah, dude, it's really like upsetting as a parent too. Growing up in the '90s, we used to be able to walk around and like play outside on our bikes, and like my parents would be home by like the sun like coming down 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 if I want to get my ass in trouble. But whatever. Just regardless, now I I wouldn't let my daughters out alone in Patchogue. And I've seen just walking into a 7-Eleven, I've seen people offer me all kinds of different things. And it's like needles and syringes in the street. And it's really like I don't know why our efforts haven't been put towards recovery services. Um, a lot of it has been, like we discussed earlier, put towards capturing people, and they're not capturing the dealers; they're capturing the users who just end up sick in jail till they get out, and then they use again, and it starts a repeating cycle that never ends until they die. In NA, there's a very popular saying. It's written in the first initial like cover of the book. Goes one is too much, and 1,000 is never enough. There are only three destinations for an addict: jail, institution, death. And that's why we face recovery. Like a lot of people, unfortunately, they don't think it's going to be them. And they never think it's going to be them. And then it is them. And there's no coming back from it.
That's my thing too. Like I grew up, same with you. I grew up in East Islip and Islip Terrace, and they,
Oh, so.
yeah, they used to call Islip Terrace the dirty terrace, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Dirty terrace filled with. There's a lot of people dying, OD, and a lot of classmates that I went to school with OD'd. East
Yeah.
Islip, not as bad, but at the same time, there was still a lot of crap that went on in East Islip. It happens where everybody here in Myrtle Beach also as well. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You
Yeah.
think the tourist thing, but dude, you know how many people are arrested down here because they bring either drugs to the hotel, they're dealing drugs out of hotels, or they're prostituting out here? Like you see it everywhere you go.
Every not only everywhere, but every day.
Yes.
Like I live off 112, and you go up and you can see literally every single hotel will have a cop sitting in the parking lot. It's like, Jesus, this is something else. It's like they just know that this is what they're gonna do. And they keep going back and doing it anyway.
That's the thing too. And I think as people, we think that we evolve, but unfortunately a lot of stuff stays the same. And I think within our country and without our overall population here, I think all of us as people just need to do better, not just by helping people out. And here's the thing nowadays, I know people want to be independent. Independent's great, but chivalry is not dead at the same time. How about let's be kinder? Let's have some more chivalry because it's not dead. Independence is great, but for God's sake, man, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't cost a lot to be kind.
It costs exactly zero
Oh,
cents
sense.
0 cents to be a decent human being, not even to be a great one. You don't even have to go out of your way for people. Just literally, if you're at the door first and somebody's behind you, open it for them. If you're literally like pushing your cart back and the cart still like stall is right next to your car, put the damn cart back. It costs 0 cents, unless you're at that stupid store that costs 25 cents. Whatever. That store doesn't count. But just the little things, just and you see it. I hate to say it, but it all comes full circle back to social media. You really, really see it on social media when people can remain anonymous and they feel like they wield all this power behind a screen. And it's really scary how many people slowly I'm seeing reports of people committing suicide because of, you know, online bullying and online harassment and threats. And it's it's sad for me because I'm afraid of the world that my kids are growing up in. And it also sucks because it was happening in my day and I didn't even realize it. I was so happy go lucky back in high school that I didn't really realize all the cyberbullying was happening. And they'd really dropped the ball in Sachem about getting the word out there. So it became a huge problem and it wasn't addressed. And I feel like social media has just really, really made the problem so much worse by giving everyone easier access to each other and just giving everybody a platform. Like, just because you can speak doesn't always mean you should speak.
That's the old saying goes, if you got nothing nice to say, then don't say it at all.
That's it.
You know what it is too? It's this, as I'm doing the little things here. It's the quote unquote keyboard warriors that they'll say something on social media, but if they're in your face, oh, hey, how you doing? What's going on, man? Yeah, what's up? You know what I'm saying? They play like a different role when they're right in front of your face, or they'll say nothing. You know what I'm saying? They're quick to say it behind the keyboard, but they won't say it here.
Of course, always, because again, they feel that safety. They feel that there's and I don't even understand quite what the safety is per se. What is it, like the safety of the door behind you that's locked?
Their
Because
inferiority complex.
yeah,
Man, I can speak what I say. It's my right. It's my Facebook. It's my Twitter. I'm going to say what I want. Woo.
like seriously, that's got to be what it is. Because it's and the absolute, I think, most tragic thing is so many of these people are doing this thing, like these cyberbullying attacks, out of sheer entertainment, and it's sickening to me. It really makes me fear for like a whole generation of like Jeffrey Dahmers and Ted Bundys that are going to evolve. Like I don't know. I try to raise my kids the same way my dad raised me. Be a good person. Do what you can to help people. Take care of your family. It's not a hard list. Like, don't be a piece of shit. Essentially, like that's pretty much what he might have he should have written down on a little piece of paper before he died, like literally. And I would have been like, all right, cool.
Well, that was my thing too, because when I grew up, I was raised by both my parents and grandparents. They both live with us. So my household was my parents, my grandparents, and my aunt. So that was my support system. And I mean, my parents were always about because they were both hardworking people. My dad worked 2 jobs. My mom worked 7 days a week. My grandparents worked. My grandmother worked. She was a stay at home grandparent after retiring. My grandfather worked for years. They were just hardworking people that didn't complain. They did what they had to do, and they instilled that in me of work ethic, of just also being, like you mentioned, being a good person, working hard, and taking care of people. It's like that movie Fences with Denzel Washington, right? Don't you go through life worrying about if people like you or not. Just best be sure you're doing right by them. That's it.
It, that is, man, I haven't heard that saying in too long, actually. I'm glad you like brought that up because I have not heard that in a while, but it is so, so true. Too many people are not focusing on doing right by anybody or anything but themselves. Like, I I don't know how we can put faith in a world where everybody might have, you know, an idea about themselves. And there's very few people like I feel like I could trust nowadays. And I used to feel like those people were the paranoid ones. The ones who didn't trust anybody and didn't like get along with everyone. Now I mean, I don't associate with a ton of people from like high school. And most of that does have to do with my recovery because a good amount of them are still doing what they were doing when they were 16, 17, 18, 19. That's if they're not dead. So I have very few friends who are also parents and, good influences on me and who I would want being around my children as well. And so being here on Long Island has been really eye opening for me. It's been both a test because I haven't been here for a couple of years and coming back here pretty much at the start of where my hellhole of despair started. It was surreal at first. And but I've now become strong enough to live on the island and for however long I'm here. And I think that if I can do it, I know that anybody who truly wants it can do it. I won't go into detail because you would probably have to blur it, but straight up, I have done some really bad things in the street as far as like needles go. And like, if I was able to get off of drugs, like without anything wrong with my body, and I put on those 60 pounds again, and I'm back up to a healthy weight, and it's not a quick fix. It's not overnight. It takes years for your brain to get back to normal, but it is eventually worth it. Eventually, and it's hard to think that way, but you just got to think to yourself, it's not going to be this hard all the time. And we don't have enough resources going towards programs to encourage people to do that. And just go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to cut you off, but I mean
No, you didn't.
Okay, cool. The mental health side of things, it's just we're in a society where a lot of people kind of like would scoff at it, but I'm like, you do realize like there's CTE and there's a lot of stuff that like addicts and everybody goes through that people don't even like, see full front. Like we've learned so much about CTE and stuff. Like, dude, I'm an epileptic. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm on meds, I get the help that I need, but it's just like stuff like that. And people don't realize like epileptics and addicts and what have you. We all go through anxiety and there's depression because it's like, hey, while this stuff is helping me, I'm tired of fucking taking pills. I'm tired of feeling the way that I feel, but it's helping me. But at the same time, I wish I wasn't on it because you don't feel that sense of normality or acceptance from people. But in actuality, you're just being yourself, and it's just something you have to overcome and you deal with.
Oh my God, you perfectly put. Literally, I'm sure you've seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Me and my wife every morning. She hadn't seen the movie. Had her watch it one day. Brilliant movie, of course. And now every morning we go medication time, because we are both on. I'm on Depakote for seizures. I'm not epileptic, thank God. I For you, man, I'm that. That's rough. I've heard that.
Thank God I haven't had a seizure since '08, but I've been good ever since on that. But I have my
Hey,
right. I'm good.
God bless, man. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, mine are more like stress induced and just panic induced, but that goes along with what you were saying about like anxiety and how we're not dealing with just one problem. These are multifaceted problems that need professionals to help with. And you can't go to your primary and expect psychiatry. And that's what both, like, that's the insurance companies expect, especially if you're on Medicaid. That's what the pharmacies expect, because the pharmacies will overrule the doctor on when you can pick up the meds. So will the insurance company. So when the insurance company and the pharmacy, not even a pharmacy, actual pharmacist, but just a pharmacy technician. So they're not actually allowed to make changes to the script. They will still overrule the doctor. And to me, I'm pretty sure not only is that illegal, but how can you possibly imagine that you have a better idea of what this patient needs than somebody who literally just had their eyes on their body and was like talking to them face to face? I Where is this guy in the insurance company going, nah, not him, and not her either. That guy, yeah, I want him to get a finger. Her? No, she is not getting that burn for like that burn relief. Let her burn. A dude with a big dick. Oh yeah, yeah. Let him live. He's cool. Like, it's like, yo, somebody's playing favorites, and I don't know who it is, but it's seriously sad the way, like, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to put into words just how, and like, the world teases you with everything you want and everything you can have, and then it seems to give it to the people who don't seem to work for it, and yet the people who work so damn hard for it, who I see daily work so damn hard for it, just never seem to get it. And it gets me angry. It gets everyone angry.
I mean, and that's the thing, like you mentioned with seizures, going back to that, like my stress level, I'm not typically the guy that likes to go here. I'm mostly this, and I don't ever get to here. And I always looked at it from a stance too, as well. Like with pills, like I'll be honest with you, my father, I love my father to death when I say this, folks. But my father, throughout my life, he was verbally abusive. Like some people have fathers that can be physically abusive. Mine was more verbally, and what helped him. And I joked with him, Brian, and I said to him, because my mother has fibromyalgia, diabetes, she's on pills like myself, and she gets through it, and she's a trooper, and I love her. And like I mentioned, she just got through cancer. But my dad is like, he has to take pills for his anger and his blood pressure. Now everything's been working; it's been better on with him. You can see him like being better as a person. But it's just like I said to him, welcome to the club. Like now you know what it's like from when you would go at us about how we act because of pills. Now you're on them yourself. So it's people with the trajectory of just like people just want to say this about mental health or this about stress. I'm like, actually feel how I'm fucking feeling. As they say, put yourself in that person's shoes. I always say this about people because we're so quick to judge as a society and really outlook and see like what goes on. And people just don't fucking get it. And I'll put it as bluntly as I can about anything in life as we're talking about in today's form. There are just people out there that just don't fucking get it and they don't want to get it.
And they never will get it. And and you know who's hurt the worst by those people? Their loved ones. And
Yep.
that's what sucks the most, is because their loved ones will go to the ends of the earth to try to save somebody who doesn't even want to be saved.
Mhm.
I've seen it, and it's really, really a depressing sight. You know, I really like the thing you bring up about the pills. I think it started happening in like the not. I mean, hell, it could have been going on in the '90s. I just might not have noticed it. I wasn't so in tune with what was going on in the pharmaceutical companies at that time. I know that they were a problem, obviously, but in movies and shit, they glamorize things like Xanax and I mean, Wolf of Wall Street looks at Quaaludes as if they're God. And,
Yep.
it romanticizes these things in a way that doesn't accurately portray all the things that you feel. It and it never can fully show you how much pain you put the loved ones like through. Because they can make somebody act like they're going through withdrawals. That's fine. I remember Ewan McGregor's performance in oh, I can't remember what movie that was, but it was one of my favorite like movies of the time period. And he played a junkie, a heroin addict, and played it off perfectly. But you can just tell he's not actually sick.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no the the life drains from somebody slowly. And you can watch them, they literally almost die and they're reborn when they get clean. It's what has to happen. And it's kind of both uh, a wonderful, if I will, and a very tragic like thing to witness because a lot of people have been in the state they were in for like of addiction for a long time. Some people wear that mask for 40, 50 years. I was lucky that I didn't wear mine for long, but I know people who have worn it for a long, long time and they try and take it off and that bitch is stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is like super glued on and not coming off. And that's why I feel like if we just had more, I know that in California, they do things like actual like the aside from the needle exchange programs they have like safe injection sites which people are outraged over and yet over like suicide overdose rates are down across the board in every pretty much every city that Canada and I think California and I think Michigan added one, but I know California did. And it's immediately when a junkie knows where they can go get their fix, they don't have to put themselves in danger by robbing people. They don't have to put others in danger by robbing them. They don't have to do something really stupid by like trying to fucking steal a car. They don't have to try and rob the dealer, which normally results in gang violence. And they don't have to worry about what's in the baggie they just got because it's pharmaceutically supplied. And we're giving it to patients anyway in the form of morphine. So, what the fuck is the hesitance to tell people, hey, stop standing on the corner or in the Dunkin' Donuts bathroom, which we know you are because, hey, 15 minutes and like the water turning on and off
Mm-hmm.
with like you going, fuck, 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 kind of does.
Gotta give
Yeah,
it
it's a
away.
clear giveaway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and you walk out like sliding, your sleeves are still up, blood running down your arm. It's like, wow, discreet, man, real subtle. Like, huh. Like, it's just, I would rather have, and these, and people who are in objection to it will say that, well, this will raise heroin use rates. No, it won't. Nobody will turn around and go, oh, that's a heroin safe injection site. I want to go try it. No, they're not.
It's so fun to me because we talk about all this stuff, and I mean, I'm in agreement with a lot of what you say because, like I said, the safety and just people staying away from heroin is the positive, but there's a lot of people that it shows with the subtleties and just not even being subtle at that. But it's so funny to me how we look at stuff like that, and I always equated it to this like how people judge with anything, and we talk about how sex sells with everything. Like I was talking to you, and I say this with my listeners, folks know that I do my thing for Lingerie Fighting Championship LFC. I've
Yes.
you now to the product. So I wanted to say this to you. People look like that. Oh, what are you doing with these women? You're sexualized. I'm like, body confidence. Empowerment. It's women going out there showcasing their stuff and applying their craft with sex appeal on the side. Look at the LFL, Lingerie Football League. Badass women in lingerie playing a sport. It's sports mixed with sex appeal. And how do you know people can gravitate towards that? How women can be inspired by these women showcasing their outerwear, the external beauty mixed with the internal beauty. And people don't
Yeah.
spiritual side or just the overall what it is for what it is, the different lens you can have that viewpoint from, but we always go to like the smut side of things. That's what always gets me about it. And I know you've seen the product and you've seen what's gone on with it. It's funny to me that people would make something like that, well, again, when there's other stuff out there in the world, but oh my god, here's lingerie over here, here's sexiness, here's a little skin showing, sex sells and everything, man.
It really is true. And I was looking through like some of the things that from the lingerie fighting, and literally grouped in with the videos are ones that are just pretty much porn shoots.
Which is,
and it's like,
and it's funny because it's not porn. It's just a
no,
little bit of MMA, a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of clothing. It's sex appeal mixed with combat sports. It's not.
yeah. And it's like, wow, it's like, okay, so we can actually somewhat, if it can be brought into an art form, especially if it's choreographed well, if it's done right, if it's, because the way I read it, it says like, look, the models are the most, and they are, they're the most important asset of the company. Easily, that's number one. Without the models, the company's nothing. So you have to take care of your number one asset, and that means they have to stay uninjured. So it's beautiful in the way that it's almost like a dance, and it's like a very sensual dance, but it's also it brings martial arts into it, which just to me, as a martial artist myself, I've always been a fan of the beauty in martial arts and how it's always been like a type of dance, and there's something just really well done about it. And that's what interested my wife about it. That's why she was like, yeah, I would love to do that. And
Well, that's the thing too. It's the overall. I use it.
Star when I was young
Oh, wonderful. Okay, cool.
in a room.
But no, that's the thing too. It's like it's the two S's, man. Safe and spectacular. That's how you have to keep with everything. It's an entertainment, safe and spectacular. Do it safe.
yeah,
And man.
and you've been doing a hell of a job, dude. Like I said, man, like, dude, and like moves all look whoever's like the training and everything, it all looks crisp. It really does.
It's the owner. It's Sean Donnelly. It's the trainers like Leon Hader and guys like Remy Marcel there in Vegas. Like it's you have to have the right accoutrement to get to where you are. And if you have the asset,
Rain training reached out
yes.
To us for my wife.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, so I figured that might be a decent route to go down.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, I really hope to see your wife do her thing in the LFC. I think that's wonderful. And I mean, Brian, what I love about it too as well, man, and we talk about different assets and endeavors that we do. I gotta say, finding out about you doing comedy also puts a smile on my face. Because again, what we do respectively, we're both doing the same thing, evoking emotions, eliciting a reaction. So I have to ask you about your comedy work, man, because you on October 6th. Governor Comedy Club stars it tomorrow. The Giggle Room in Levittown, NY, baby. What kind of gravitated you toward the comedy route, man?
Um, you know, I just my life from the I've looked back, and after I got clean, especially, my life has been just a joke. It has. Of just every time I've gotten ahead, it's like God had a microphone, a magnifying glass. So when I went to the Giggle Room the first time, and I did my stand up for the very first time a couple months ago, I was late by 5 minutes, and they had me go on first. I took 5 too many shots at the bar, and I stumbled up and I slurred through my bit, and it was okay, but it gave me a lot of passion. It gave me a lot of confidence because I've always been one, like you said, I've always been one to like to talk to people and like to vocalize. So my next show, I didn't go heavy on the drinking. I was in control of everything. I wasn't late, although I got dropped because I was outside smoking a cigarette. So maybe that'll just be what I'm known as among Governors Club, just the guy who either goes first or last. But either way, I ended up getting a standing ovation of a couple people from the last time, and that's what led me to create like a Twitter and everything. And because I didn't have any of that, and people are like, "Oh man, do you have recordings? Do you have like shows up?" I'm like, "No, no, no, I don't." I'm like, "Stay tuned." I'm like, "Hopefully," and I everything's happened really fast, but that's okay with me. I kind of I don't mind it, and I love. I think my favorite thing about comedy is I could tell the truth without that big old thing you said, cancel culture,
Mhm.
coming around to screw me.
But I think that's the most also important part of comedy is authenticity. If you're real and you can add laughs to it and be entertaining with it, that's the best form of comedy, being authentic while also being real at the same time. Because people resonate with that. And I mean, we're supposed to be with social media creating like this persona, like everything's good. You look at an image on social media, for example, it can be the most smiling part, but they're putting up also smiles and everything. Now it's great to that, but how do you know behind that they're in pain or what have you? You know what I'm saying? They're hurting. It's something that we see that kind of masks what people really are. But if you could put something that's real out there through your words, inspiring through words and actions, that's what really people can tap into. If you could tug at somebody's heartstrings, if you could struck a chord, that's the main thing, man.
That's one of the two of my biggest influences in the comedy world right now are Pete Davidson and John Mulaney, two two comedians who have been very, very, very open about their addiction issues and about how their life has not been good or great at times. And, you know, even when you have money, even when you have fame, it's life is still rough. It's still an adventure. It's still like you're still playing chess. And a lot of people think that it's just going to come easy. It's going to come like real simple. It's just not the truth. It's,
Well, you're gonna fall on your face a couple times, and that goes through
oh,
everything.
of course.
That's the
Oh, absolutely.
That's the thing too. Like I equate it to what I did when I first rang announce in Vegas for LFC. I was first of all, it's one thing to be doing this, which is fun, and we get to talk like this. But when you're in front of the people, it's like, oh man. But it's a rush because your job out there is to make people want to be involved in why this event is important, why this bout's important. You're there to be like, okay, this is me, this is who I am, this is my set. Here's what it is. Let's have some laughs. Let's have a good time.
You're waking up the yeah, and you're waking up the crowd when you go out there. Like, dude, I can't like that. To me, that's crazy because you got to get them in the mind state to be pumped for like, and you can't even use. You need to use more of like your tones,
Right.
your the breaks in your words, your like cadence, and that to me is an art form. And comedians too, to a degree, we definitely do the same thing. You know, I didn't know how much science went into comedy until I really started researching it. And there is a lot of science that goes into it about laughs per minute, quality of laughs, the percentage of the room that laughed, or the amount of time the laugh lasted. It's just, to me, the way these statistics are measured and everything, it, I don't know, it makes me feel like if today's, like we earlier equated, like if Richard Pryor were to come out on stage today,
Mhm.
what would he be looked at as? Like, would people think he was as hilarious as they did back then?
It's like if Eddie Murphy put out Raw and Delirious now.
Yeah, like Raw and Delirious, people would be like, what are you? What is this?
Doing? What are you saying? What are you
Like
talking about?
seriously, like this is why? Like the same, like we look fondly back on like American Pie movies,
Yeah,
but like, but even like people like my wife and shit, they're sometimes are like, just why? Like, but it's just movies like that that really kind of do just glorify everything wrong. And it just brings us all back to like that number one issue is just that nobody has their focus on the right priorities ever.
it,
They never do.
it reminds me of like with music when like it's so funny because I think in today's day and age, and I always say this, people just don't want to put the work in. They want shit handed to them, or they just think it comes so.
Instant
It's
gratification.
gratification. Thank you. It's like when people thought, "Oh, I'm the shit, man. I just put my freaking album out on SoundCloud." No, you're not. You're just a fucking dude who put a thing on SoundCloud. Like,
I'm a SoundCloud rapper.
SoundCloud rappers, like fuck, like, and they thought they were hot shit. But I'm like, hey, it's a great platform to get you out there. But I mean, you're not fucking like all these rappers out here that you see on talk shows and have these high budget videos and shit. You're just a dude on a platform rapping. Like, come on now.
Like that's it. That's it. And that's all you are. And to go out, it's you know what I used to love? I used to love the little back in the day, because I don't think they have them anymore. Back in the day, you used to find those little CDs at the gas stations that had all these weird ass songs on them. You never recognized anyone on the CD. It was just like, oh, it's $5. All right, we don't got anything to listen to. Okay.
Like
And
the
it came with
yeah, it's like the old
yeah, yeah, and it came with like 35 songs, and you were like, okay. You start to put it in, you're like, what the hell am I listening to?
right.
It's like this is what the fuck. It's like, and those people will go, yo, I sold 1,000 CDs. Yeah, bro, in a fucking gas station with people going a 790-mile road trip, and they've got nothing to listen to but their kid going, "Mommy, we want McDonald's." Like, yeah, I would buy a $5 CD and listen to a guy tell me to go fuck myself. At that point, like, they're not winning. They're just
Oh,
a SoundCloud rapper.
it reminds me of like, okay, so when MTV tried to bring back TRL, and TRL just celebrated 25 years. Like when TRL first came out, when we grew up in the 90s, right? It was this big thing. They played the pop songs, they played the rock songs, there was a variety. But then they tried to bring it back like last year or the year before, like 2022, 2021. I'm like, that shit doesn't fly now because everybody streams everything now. They could go on Spotify, they could go on YouTube. Nobody wants to sit and watch a countdown show of videos that they could just watch for free on their computers.
I actually saw something literally just about this the other day. I was actually watching YouTube about it. And why would anyone like back in the day, the only time if you missed an episode of something and it was like a new episode of something, or like if you were at work and you heard a song and you didn't remember the words, you drive home humming the song till you got home and were able to go on the computer and go da da di da 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 and
Yes.
hope to God that somebody else was like, I think I got the rhythm down too. Like that was it. That was the old ass AOL dial up. So you better hope nobody's calling at that time. So it's a much different situation than today. And MTV really changed the whole game. They came on and they told you music. They introduced you to music. They were the ones showing you it and telling you what it was, giving you this glorified like the music video, like talks with the artist and everything. Now that's any phone can do that. That's nothing special. Like, show me something that hasn't been done in the last 15 years.
That's the thing, man. It's just like it's also like the art form of just going out about to buy a CD. Like I remember in Bayshore, they used to have the Wiz, which was very popular.
Yes, right. Oh my God, yes, right. I know where the Wiz is or
Yep,
was.
it was. Yes, they had Circuit City. I mean, Best Buy and all this stuff. But here's the thing: now everything is just. Even I'll say it because somebody put a photo. I remember you used to go into like FYE and they had like the big thing where you had
Yep,
headphones and you could
yep.
listen to like samples of it. And it's like,
Oh yeah.
buy this CD after listening to the sample of it. So they don't have that anymore. It's just like, okay, here you go.
See now the reason they wouldn't have them is because of COVID. Now
Yeah,
they'd be like, no, they cannot put COVID on their ears, like, which I look, I get, especially because some people were at the Smith Haven Mall were, huh, there were some people there, but you know that experience of just everything not being at your fingertips is gone for kids these days. They have everything at their fingertips. And it's really hard to teach them anything when they have that like you said, instant gratification to just click a button and go, why do I want to clean my room when I can just, click this button and play my phone? Or I don't have to clean my room to go outside and play. I can just play my whatever. It all comes down to the same problem. They don't have any desire to do anything when everything's been handed to them. And I don't mean handed to them as far as like handouts or welfare. I don't want people misconstruing that.
No, we're
I
not
mean,
saying,
like,
we're saying like, oh,
yeah,
no, like here you go. This is how it is. No, it's just
yeah, just like people like just not being more like parental as far as the discipline side goes, and like making sure that their kid has a balance of not just technology, because it is important, and they are growing up in a technological world, and that's partially what kind of screwed our generation. Is we grew up in the first half with hard work and determination will get you far.
yep.
Then the second half, it was you make a dumbass YouTube video and it goes viral, you
You're
are
famous.
a fucking billionaire.
Yep, you're famous. Like, catch me outside. How about that? Look at friggin' Bad Baby over there making all this money now with their OnlyFans. After Catch Me Outside, how about that became a viral thing?
Like it pains me to see, because there are so many genius level IQs that I know personally, people who have great ideas for the world, who are good people, who would do good things, aren't able to even think or have an idea about being put in a place of power or authority, because these people who somehow, some way, some reason just don't want everyone to be happy, they're always the ones in positions of
Yeah,
authority.
it's that sometimes, they just want to watch the world burn. That's how it is.
I
Sometimes,
was
yep.
That's it.
That's
That is it.
But that's the problem with today's society. Like Bad Baby, who's a friggin' seventh grade educator, goes on who's seventh grade education, goes on Dr. Phil, is a problem child. Catch Me Outside. How about that? And fucking now has like a house. She has an OnlyFans that's successful. She signed up for OnlyFans when she was like 18. And I'm like,
Yep. The day of her 18th
the day of
birthday.
her 18th birthday. And it's just like this is what's sad about our generation, because this is who
Yeah.
kids gravitate towards. And it's like, what the fuck?
Oh, it's the same shit that was happening with the Stranger Things actress, Bobby Millie Brown.
Yeah.
When Drake fucking did that thing on her birthday, on the 18th birthday, he goes, "Oh, so glad you're 18 now. Now I can finally take you out." It's like,
Oh,
that's grooming, my man. Like, you can go to jail for that, my man. Don't do that, my man.
don't brag about that.
Chill. Like, it's just, why are we becoming more acceptable to things like, and that's where this whole liberal side, I think, is going a little too far, in the way that they're almost getting into libertarian. Like, if it makes sense of just don't fuck with me, just stay by yourself and don't fuck with me, don't worry about my shit, and I won't worry about your shit,
Which
but in a worse way.
it's a worse way of that. But I mean, I understand. And first of all, as someone who is lean liberal myself, I can speak on this. I see both sides of the coin, and I
Yep.
mean, it's just it's so ridiculous. Like, it's just like, well, don't worry about this, don't worry about that, let me do me. I'm all for equality, but also at the same time, there is some things that we need to be together on and actually focus on this, especially with this generation of children who, even, I'm going to say this right now, we are out of school, we are grown men, we are educated men, but for those who are looking to get an education, we now have to worry even more now because of how school shootings have risen. Like, we grew up Columbine 99, I was in second grade. And I mean, 2012 really brought it up when Sandy Hook happened, and we're having kids in elementary school getting shot up. We have to stop with the fucking school shootings and the mass shootings. That's what's fucking reckoning it for everybody, too. And what a lot of kids nowadays have to fucking worry about, more security in schools and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, clearly the problem is that they only have one door.
Right.
I mean, that's clearly the problem. I mean, I've seen it all over the news. That's what they want to report as the problem. And you look at Uvalde, and you look at what happened there, and the disgusting response of those officers. And it's like, people are becoming so desensitized to this that the officers are treating this fucking school shooting like a traffic stop. This is maddening. This is heartbreaking because there are still children in there and they're just sitting out there with a shotgun, like, well, should we go ahead? Maybe, I don't know. One guy's like taking pictures and selfies. It's like, dude,
Like,
are you,
you gotta go in there?
it, like, it's sick. It's just sick. I remember, what was it? Was it Rachel's Promise?
Oh, the Rachel's Challenge, yeah.
Rachel's Challenge. I remember doing that back when Columbine happened. And I remember watching that documentary and I remember having like wipe my eyes when it was all done. Like I was legitimately crying. I was like, holy crap, like this is unbelievable. Like, and that rocked our world. Like that was a big deal. Now we're averaging, I'm pretty certain it averages over one a day.
Yep. We're
And
at that point.
it's like, and I've seen, I'm, you look at like Daily Show does little things where, and I know they're a left leaning news organization, but regardless, they send their people overseas and they ask them about what some of the things people here say, and it's like, you think doors are the problem to school shootings? Well, yeah. Why don't you remove the guns? Like, not like just make it harder to get them. Like background checks and mental health evaluations are. If you want to own an AR-15, you can wait an extra couple days. There's no reason that you need to have it right that second. I'm sorry. I don't care. I do not care. If it was up to me, and I will openly put this on the record from my not the show, but my opinion, I think that the Second Amendment did not take any of the weaponry we would have today into like, yeah, into uh consideration. They did not know what we were going to build. Like, are we allowed to own a nuke if we technically own a nuke? Like, if I build it, I'm pretty sure there are rules against that one too. But still, like, a weapon's a weapon, and the second gives us the right to bear arms and form a militia against a government that we see as, I can't remember the last of the words, but yeah, there's no militia. There's no like the Proud Boys. That's the militia.
I was about
It's
to say that. Yes.
like, man, that's the militia. Ooh, and you're killing police officers.
Right.
Come on.
That's my thing too, especially with gun violence. I'm like, there's a lot of political figures out there. What I hate the fact is gun violence happens each and every day. We're seeing more shootings, we're seeing more people killing each other, which is awful. We're going against everything that we are meant to be here for. And they just act like, oh yeah, there's no gun violence. No, it's okay. It's all right. Everything's going to be fine. Everything's not going to be fine when everything's burning around you and you want to live in this fictitious world where everything is sunshine and rainbows, to quote Rocky Balboa. It's one of those things too, where it's so ridiculous that there's this false sense of nothing is happening when everything is happening. And why aren't you stopping it?
That's exactly what it is. It's, and anyone who knows any kind of anything about any of the news stations out there on TV will know who I'm talking about. A certain one likes to paint a different picture than all the others. And for some reason, a lot of people believe this version, and they're living in a different world. It's a completely different world than like we live in. And it's kind of shattering to me. And it's not even like it's Republican so much. It's like it's a specific, like the Proud Boys. These are like very violent people who are trying to hurt the country, and they're getting support. And that is not good. That is not ideal for this country because we have so many bad things happening here as it is, with COVID still a problem and probably never going to not be a problem. The gun violence will never stop as far as school shootings and the way they go about it. They're going to arm teachers next. It's like, okay, I heard that one. I was like, that's all right. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I definitely had a couple of teachers that I would have loved to have guns. When I was in I was in seventh grade, I had a teacher named she was an English teacher. I'm not gonna name names, but she slapped me across the face for making a comment. What if she had a gun? Because she was later fired because she had anger issues. What if she had a gun that day? I might have gotten shot for saying something stupid as a seventh grader.
Hmm.
I don't want teachers having guns. I'm sorry. My kids aren't going to school if teachers have guns.
I would
I'll
be
homeschool them.
I would be in the same boat. I would not do that if I had a child who's and the teacher was the one to have the guns. No, because what if you get out of line? What are you going to do? Just pop up at them? No, it's ridiculous to have that mindset about it. And I mean, going back to what you mentioned with like Rachel's challenge and everything that happened with the Columbine shooting, I was actually in the same boat of you as far as sadness because like after watching that, folks, if you've never seen the Rachel's challenge documentary, it's sad, it's horrific, it's tragic. But do you remember the book that they had? She said yes.
Yep.
Dude, it was about the girl who got shot. Do you believe in God? And she said yes. That's what that book is about.
Mm-hmm.
It's heartbreaking because they interview the parents and just it hits you right here, man.
I, dude, and it's not in the same it's in the same vein. It's just not in the same like author, but
Sure.
19 minutes.
Yes. Okay.
Dude, those three books, I would like those are three books that anyone who's been through anything like this must I get they break my heart reading them from every angle. Like I like the way 19 minutes framed it from the other way in a sad way. And like the book about Rachel's challenge and it I just remember thinking like this is just something that shouldn't happen. Like this shouldn't have happened. This wasn't right. This there that I think honestly might have been the first day I questioned God. Seriously, like as a little kid, I remember hearing about this and the way they talked about it, and I was like, why would this happen to this girl? Why? And there are never answers. That's the worst part. I mean, you could say the kid got bullied. You could say whatever you want to say, but I know I know plenty of people who were bullied and did not shoot up their schools. And I walked around my high school beating up bullies just because of what I saw in Rachel's challenge, and I didn't want anyone going to commit like harm to themselves or hurting themselves because of what was happening. And I just it's it's definitely hard to accept that it's become so desensitized in today's culture that what was something that was heartbreaking to us when we first watched it, my kids and any kids I see around, like their friends and everything, will literally watch memes about school shootings and laugh.
That's the most heartbreaking part too. And we're also equated that too. If you remember during Columbine, like everybody put the blame on Marilyn Manson and the music that.
Yes.
But I'm like, here's the thing. You don't know the person. Like you and I listen to Marilyn Manson. You've listened to it. I've listened. We know Marilyn
Yeah.
Manson, but that doesn't mean we're gonna go shoot up the doggone school. That's the point. It's not everything. Oh, it was the music and stuff. How about it's just a case of these guys were bullied. They couldn't take it anymore. So they did what they thought was the best thing that they could do. They were outcasts. They didn't like they were treated. So they chose to shoot up everybody. And also the mother was also an integral part, didn't really give them enough attention. And there's parenting involved. There's the ideology of what they wanted to do to solve that problem. But Marilyn Manson is the farthest thing from what we should, really look at from a perspective of, oh, this is why they did it. It's not Marilyn Manson's fault because not all music makes people want to do this particular thing.
And that's it's so funny. It's like where the blame gets placed is so wild to me. From Manson to video games to jump to the violence in television to violence in movies, and it's like, guys, you're gonna run out of things to blame. Like at some point, I mean, I always bring it back, and I know that there are plenty of arguments that hardcore rats like right wingers will bring up, but we don't ban like they'll say we don't ban cars because they cause accidents and they kill people. No, but we do make people go through extensive tests and we take them away very, very easily if they don't pay constantly, keep them updated, keep them registered, and keep them known where they are in all times. And if a cop sees you doing something with it, he can take it immediately and pull you over in it. It's not really the same. And so to equate the two is really, really a piss poor argument. And aside from that, I don't know what the argument is for these mammoth weapons. I mean, do people really believe? I guess they must, honestly. They have to. People really believe that the government is going to one day turn around and wage war on its own people.
Mm-hmm.
That is so asinine to the point where it's what would they be the country of
if they have war on
if
their own people?
You have no people to rule. You have no kingdom. You are a kingdom without a king.
Right.
Without a king without a kingdom.
Inmates just running the asylum. Nothing. Just everything.
Exactly.
Wild.
If you assassinate all the inmates, what are you running? Nothing. A big fancy jail with like free housing?
It's just that's the way our society is. But I think what I will say about this is there are a lot of bright spots on society. And folks, I'm going to say this: if you have not checked out Brian, check out his social media with everything that you got going with your comedy. I'm going to say this, man. You coming from what you had with your addiction, you got your wife, you got your beautiful kids, man. I'm proud of you, and I think God has a great path for you, and I can't wait to see you stay on your path and just have nothing but continued success, man. I hope I fully mean that, and I truly have nothing but love and respect for you.
Dude, I can't even tell you how much it means to me to have been on tonight and to have had this discussion with you, dude. You like I'm receding hairline, and dude, you've aged a lot better than I have. I'll tell you that. You aged a hell of a lot better. But man, I mean, same thing, man. I mean it from all my heart, dude. When I saw what you were doing, dude, I was so happy for you, and I'm glad that like somebody I actually really got along with and somebody I considered a close friend at the time, they got out alive because it was not a guarantee back then. Mm-mm. And you know, I can, dude, thank you for everything. And if any of my 40 whatever followers are watching this, go check out Mike on all the things he does because there are a ton. He's got them all over. Just look up the guy who releases this video because seriously, he's talented as shit, and he's got so many projects that are both interesting, and I haven't stopped watching them. So
appreciate that wholeheartedly. And I will say this. Well, since you mentioned your 40 followers, before I do my final plugs, brother, where can we follow you on Twitter now, or the X as it is? I refuse to call it fucking X.
Yeah, but I know. I can't call it X either. I keep
screwing up. What's the Twitter handle?
So it's at official BK Comedy.
All right, perfect. The link will be in the description. Now, are you going to do an Instagram, or is it mainly just Twitter for right now?
If I do an Instagram, it will be ran by my wife. She will be running my Instagram for me.
Okay, perfect.
Happy wife, happy life.
Happy wife, happy life. Yes, sir. So check out Brian on Twitter. Link will be in the description. If you want to follow this channel, much like Brian said, and want to see a lot of the variety that we offer here, it's Mike Larkin 92. Hit the subscribe button. We have hit 600 subscribers since I started this doggone thing back up. Keep it going, folks. Let's go. Pop Culture History Podcast, LFC Podcast, Beauty, Strength, and Dominance on the mic with Mike, as we're doing here tonight. Capital Championship Wrestling, I do Progression, Succession, and their recap shows. LFC on Network on Roku, where you can see this grill, and especially YouTube. If you want to see this grill, follow him on Twitter. You got a nice grill, and check him out at October 6th, Levittown, New York, my dude. Brian, it's such a pleasure. It's such a privilege. I love you, my brother. Thank you so much.
Always a pleasure. Much love, man.
Love, man.